Hey guys, welcome back for more shenanigans and repairs, or vice versa. So we got an Echo, and it's an SRM210. Starts up, appears to run well, but it doesn't. As soon as you give it any gas at all, it falls on its face. So at that time, if you were to give it a little bit of choke, half choke, it runs a little better. Give it a little more, and then it'll take off, and you go, oh good. So you give it a minute or two to warm up, put the choke back off again, and it just falls on its face again, doesn't like to run. You go back up, more choke, and it's running again. Okay, so what that normally means is that you need more fuel on the high needle side, on the high circuit, and these have them normally hidden. Like sometimes they're hidden down inside this top piece, and then up inside you take a pin off, take this plate off, then you can burn a plastic plug out. But for me, a lot of times you find that the diaphragm on the accelerator pump is bad. So $15 in this case, it's not worth screwing around trying to rebuild it. If it was a life or death thing and you just had to get it running, then you could try to clean it. But in this case, it's a friend of mine's, and he likes the thing and he wants to use it, and for 15 bucks, you know, it fixes it. So let's see. This is what I got, and it didn't come from too far away. I mean, it probably was all made overseas, but you get an air filter, which, let's see what this old one looks like. Yeah, there you go. So that air filter is pretty yucky. So there's an air filter. It gives you two gaskets. One for, looks like one for the carb mount and one for the carb base mount. Brand new set of fuel lines that go into the carburetor fuel tank itself, with a vent and a return line, and this is the pickup line with the fuel filter. And here's the carburetor. New purge ball, siphon ball, however you want to say it. They give you some extra siphon balls, and brand new spark plug. 15 bucks. I would have been happy with just this for 15 bucks. Let me get this thing taken off. Just two screws here and pulling the cable off, and we'll come back. Okay. Took the screws out. There's the two. Get you over here. Without tipping you over, sorry. Okay. And then there is on the throttle. Let's see if you can see it. How about if I camera around? So this piece here, when this comes open, when the throttle opens, now that I tipped it over because I had it unbolted, let me set you back down here and see if I can do this like this. That looks almost acceptable. Okay. So when you open the throttle up here, you can see that that piece there, it's just stuck out. And that is the throttle cable, and that's how it locks in there. And it's held in, so you just pull that out, pick up on it. And then this piece just pulls out, see? And this is an adjustment here. You turn this in and out. That's for idle adjustment. Not idle adjustment, trigger adjustment. The idle adjustment's up here, but this is for setting the tension of the cable on the trigger, on the accelerator. So just checking out these hoses, and they don't feel great. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna change everything out. So you can use a screwdriver, you could use pliers, a pick, anything basically you got to get underneath this rubber here and then pull up on it, pull it out or pop it out, however you want to say it. And there it is, that's popped out. And there's a fuel filter here on the end, or should be. Yes, there it is. There it is. Okay, so now I'll clean that surface up and we'll put the other one down in. Alright, so it's all cleaned up. I've wiped it off. Now we'll get rid of the old one. Here's the new one. You compare the old one to the new one when you're assembling it, if you're not sure on how exactly everything goes together. Now I'm going to take a little bit of 2-stroke oil here and just put it on this rubber grommet. Should help it pop in there, and it's not going to hurt the machine at all. And I'll put just a little on this here. Better to be safe than sorry. And let's see if she'll cooperate and pop in there. So that was the filter. All right. And let's see. Sometimes you get the back side in, and then you can work on the side towards you. You could use something. You just don't want to poke a hole in anything, so be real careful. If you're using a screwdriver to push down in like I am, I'm just pushing gently on the edge just to get it started in. Hopefully you can still see somewhat of what we're doing here. Yeah, I moved you, I'm sorry. Oh, I popped it out. So let's go with a little bigger screwdriver so that we can put more surface area on without affecting the actual seal. And I'm working up on something. Let's move this piece off of this bench here. Alright, I put it on a harder surface. So we'll get one side in, hold pressure on her, and we'll try another side, and then another side. And I know you can't really see very much, but there, when it pops in, it just pops in. It's like when it works kind of deal. Alright, let's get you spun back around. Okay, so we take our old gasket off. Take our new gasket. Make sure this is relatively clean. I feel it with my finger to make sure there's no gasket material on it that I would have to scrape off, but that's nice and clean. Okay. And then remember, this piece here came off the front of the carburetor, but it appears, let me look on the other carburetor, there was no gasket on it. So just make sure there's nothing that's important to be covered or not covered. And also it's possible that this never even had a gasket on the front of this. There goes one of the screws. It's possible. But I just orientated this gasket so that if there's any holes like that one, it's plugged by everything. Then we'll stick this through there, and it's not going to interfere, that gasket's not going to interfere with any of the throttle movements either. And then make sure you orientate your gasket so that it lines up with any specifically needed holes, whether it's universal goes one way or if it has to be a certain way, or and this goes up in there. See that? That's a special place right there. I don't know if you can see that. Put this down and show you again. This little spot here, the vent, the gas tank vent goes in there, fuel tank vent. Okay, so now this comes up here and we can get those started. Give her a little snuggy. There's that. There we go. Okay. Make sure the choke works. Beautiful. Here's the throttle cable. Now remember, this slides in. Slides in through this. And now when it comes out there, we're going to want to pull the choke back and get that cable underneath there. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to pull this back. There's a little trigger over here that they give you to push your finger on. Right here. Okay. Pull the trigger back, take the cable, bring it over in, just stick it in that slot right there, like that. Okay, and then when you let this off, or you can hit the trigger and pull that in, because it's got to be pulled into that brass feet there, like that. Now I let go with this, and then when I let the trigger off, it's locked in on this piece here. Okay. And now you want the tension on this cable itself. When you touch the trigger, right, you want it to be just a little before it comes on, and you also want it to be able to go full throttle, which is all the way open and touching like that. So as long as there's a little bit of free play, and I'm sure in the manual it tells you what the free play is supposed to be, but you just don't want it. You don't want it so tight that there's no free play, so that when you let off, it's stuck, like stuck there at partial throttle. Right? All right. We're going to throw a spark plug in there, and we'll throw the air breather back on and try and start it. So, got the old spark plug out, and she's pretty oily, and it's right at 25 thousandths is what I normally stick with, unless the books say otherwise. There's nothing on the motor right there, so we're going to stick with 25. So a lot of times you can't get to the spark plug opening, so you want to work with this strap back here. You don't want to pry between these two, because you could break the electrode or the ceramic around it. So you want to grab back here and bend up or in, down, whatever. And then for your feeler gauge, for this is old set, it only goes to like 23. So in order to get 25, you take a 20 and a 5 and just put them together, squeeze them together, right? And then try it. Now as far as closing this, I don't have a problem. Tap, tap, tap on something really light, just to make that a snug 25, like that. Okay. Get the spark plug back in. And it's these spark plugs are weird. It's not the 13/16 or the 7/8. It's I believe it's like a 3/4, or the one that I had grabbed earlier was metric, which is 19. That fits pretty good. So let me just grab 3/4 so I give you the proper information. Yeah, 3/4. So the 19mm or the 3/4 inch. We'll tighten them up. Now once it's tight, snug. Now if it's got this gasket here, it's a crush gasket, you want to tighten it just a little bit so you feel that thing snug up to crush it just a smidgen. Where if it had been like tapered, you just basically just snug it and then tighten it a little. But this one you have to turn it a little past to compress that this gasket here. Now make sure your plug end is tight. Put your spark plug wire itself on, and you get rid of some tools off the bench. Alright, so we're going to pump up our fuel ball. Oh, I don't know, you can't see it, but I got a little bit of a kink right in the line here. So let me push that into the tank a little bit and get that straightened out. The other thing you could do is pull it off, which I'll probably do instead, because I got more than enough inside. I'm going to pull it off, trim them, and we'll get them put back on. Okay, so we got my little scissors. I'm going to pull that up so that it's just about to the top of where I want it to go, and I'll cut that off. And we'll do the same thing with the return line in the back. Okay. Now, the return line gave me a bit of a hard time going on earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'll take a needle nose pliers here, stick it down in there. Sure is raining out. I hope that doesn't affect noise-wise. And then you just open just a little bit on it, just stretch just a little. You don't want to do too much, you know, because you'll end up tearing it. And then you should be able to pull it off and put it right up onto that fuel valve nipple. And then you can sometimes use the pliers to go just that little bit further if you need to. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Looks good, there's no kinks in it. We're going to do the same thing with this one. Okay. And there's that. Okay, so now there's no kinks in the fuel line. And the fuel ball seems to be working much, much better. Let's see if I can get it to pick up any. I don't know if there's any gas in here. Okay, there is some gas. So, oh yeah, it did pick up some gas there. She's nice and full. Just trying to get air lines out. Yeah, looks good. All right. Now, the reason this isn't darker This isn't straight gas, this is mixed gas. I was just using AMS oil, synthetic, whenever I am working on something that I'm not sure of, like how much oil it's had in the gas in the past, or if it's in something new. I like to use synthetic oils in them. Doesn't hurt anything, and it just makes it a little more slippery, a little more safety on for my part, I suppose I could say. So turn the switch on down here, turn our choke on here, and we shouldn't have to hold the throttle. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. I think the more that it runs now, like it hasn't been run forever, so there could be some buildup in the bottom, but it's pouring out right now. So that's going to be about it. So if you ever have a two-stroke motor that, whether it be a chainsaw or a weed eater, leaf blower, and it doesn't want to run without a choke partially on, and there's no adjustment, just look up, go on eBay or online or Amazon or wherever, and just look up the carb, because I mean, for 15 bucks she's brand new again. All right, stay safe and bye-bye.